So all through Troy, the men who had fled like panicked fawns were wiping off their sweat, drinking away their thirst, leaning along the city's massive ramparts now, while Achaean troops, sloping shields to shoulders, closed against the walls. But there stood Hector, shackled fast by his deadly fate, holding his ground, exposed in front of Troy in the Scaean gates. Achilles soon realizes that he has been tricked by Apollo and turns away from the fruitless foot race with the god. He rushes on to Troy. Priam is the first to see the swift-footed Achilles blazing like the star that shines in the sky during the harvest season. Priam cries out to his son from the ramparts of Troy. "Oh, Hector, don't just stand there. Don't, dear child, waiting for that man's attack, alone, cut off from friends. You'll meet your doom at once, beaten down by Achilles, so much stronger than you, that hard, headlong man. Oh, if only the gods loved him as much as I do. Dogs and vultures would eat his fallen corpse at once. With what a load of misery lifted from my spirit. The man who robbed me of many sons, brave boys, cutting them down or selling them off as slaves, shipped to islands half the world away. Even now there are two, Lycaon and Polydorus. I cannot find them among the soldiers crowding Troy. Those sons Laothoe bore me, Laothoe, queen of women. But if they are still alive in the enemy's camp, then we'll ransom them back with bronze and gold. We have hoards inside the walls, the rich dowry old and famous Eltes presented with his daughter. But if they're dead already, gone to the house of death, what grief to their mother's heart and mine. We gave them life. For the rest of Troy, though, just a moment's grief, unless you too are battered down by Achilles. Back inside the walls, come back, my boy. Rescue the men of Troy and the Trojan women. Don't hand the great glory to Peleus' son, bereft of your own sweet life yourself. Pity me too, still in my senses true, but a harrowed, broken man, marked out by doom, past the threshold of old age, and Father Zeus will waste me with a hideous fate. And after I've lived to look on so much horror, my sons laid low, my daughters dragged away, and the treasure chambers looted, helpless babies hurled to the earth in the red barbarity of war, my sons' wives hauled off by the Argives' bloody hands, and I last of all, the dogs before my doors will eat me raw. Once some enemy brings me down with his sharp bronze sword, or spits me with a spear, wrenching the life out of my body. Yes, the very dogs I bred in my own halls to share my table, guard my gates, mad, rabid at heart, they'll lap their master's blood and loll before my doors. For a young man, all looks fine and noble if he goes down in war, hacked to pieces under a slashing bronze blade. He lies there dead. But whatever death lays bare, all wounds are marks of glory. When an old man's killed, and the dogs go with the gray head and the gray beard and mutilate the genitals, that is the cruelest sight in all our wretched lives. Old Priam begins to tear his gray hair from his head, while Queen Hecabe wails and bares her breast to her son. "Hector, my child, look, have some respect for this. Pity your mother too. If I ever gave you the breast to soothe your troubles, remember it now, dear boy. Beat back that savage man from safe inside the walls. Don't go forth, a champion pitted against him. Merciless, brutal man. If he kills you now, how can I ever mourn you on your deathbed? Dear branch and bloom, dear child I brought to birth. Neither I nor your wife, that warm, generous woman, now far beyond our reach, now by the Argive ships, the rushing dogs will tear you, bolt your flesh. Priam and Achabe beg their son to come within the walls of Troy, but Hector refuses. He speaks to himself. No way out. If I slip inside the gates and walls, Polydamas will be the first to heap disgrace on me. He was the one who urged me to lead our Trojans back to Ilium just last night. The disastrous night Achilles rose in arms like a god. But did I give way? Not at all. And how much better it would have been. Now my army's ruined, thanks to my own reckless pride. I would die of shame to face the men of Troy and the Trojan women trailing their long robes. Someone less of a man than I will say, our Hector, staking all on his own strength, he destroyed his army. So they will mutter. But now, better by far for me to stand up to Achilles, kill him, come home alive, or die at his hands in glory out before the walls. But wait, what if I put down my studded shield and heavy helmet, prop my spear on the rampart, and go forth, just as I am, to meet Achilles, noble Prince Achilles? Why, I could promise to give back Helen, yes, and all her treasures with her, all those riches Paris once hauled home to Troy in the hollow ships. And they were the cause of all our endless fighting. Yes, return it all to the sons of Atreus now to haul away, and then, at the same time, divide the rest with all the Argives, all the city holds, and then I'd take an oath for the Trojan royal council, that we will hide nothing, share and share alike the hoards of our handsome citadel stores within its depths, and why debate, my friend? Why thrash things out? I must not go and implore him. He'll show no mercy, no respect for me, my rights. He'll cut me down straight off, stripped of defenses like a woman once I have loosed the armor off my body. No way to parley with that man. Not now. Not from behind some oak or rock to whisper, like a boy and a young girl, lovers' secrets a boy and girl might whisper to each other. Better to clash in battle, now, at once. See which fighter Zeus awards the glory. As Achilles closes in on Hector, the great Trojan fighter's nerve breaks, and trembling he flees from the son of Peleus. He left the gates behind, and away he fled in fear, and Achilles went for him, fast, sure of his speed as the wild mountain hawk, the quickest thing on wings, launching smoothly, swooping down on a cringing dove, and the dove flits out from under, the hawk screaming over the quarry, plunging over and over, his fury driving him down to beak and tear his kill. So Achilles flew at him, breakneck on in fury, with Hector fleeing along the walls of Troy, fast as his legs would go. On and on they raced, passing the lookout point, passing the wild fig tree tossed by the wind. Always out from under the ramparts, down the wagon trail they careered until they reached the clear running springs, where whirling Scamander rises up from its double well springs bubbling strong. And one runs hot, and the steam goes up around it, drifting thick as if fire burned at its core, but the other, even in summer, gushes cold as hail or freezing snow or water chilled to ice. And here, close to the springs, lie washing pools, scooped out in the hollow rocks, and broad and smooth, where the wives of Troy and all their lovely daughters would wash their glistening robes in the old days, the days of peace before the sons of Achaea came. Past these they raced, one escaping, one in pursuit, and the one who fled was great, but the one pursuing greater, even greater, their pace mounting in speed, since both men strove not for a sacrificial beast or ox-hide trophy, prizes runners fight for. No, they raced for the life of Hector, breaker of horses. Like powerful stallions sweeping round the post for trophies, galloping full stretch with some fine prize at stake, a tripod, say, or a woman offered up at funeral games for some brave hero fallen. So the two of them whirled 3 times around the city of Priam, sprinting at top speed, while all the gods gazed down. Zeus considers saving Hector and plucking him away from Achilles, but Athena convinces him to not intervene. Rather, Zeus sends Athena down to Troy in order to help Achilles seal the fate of Hector. Athena goes to Achilles and speaks to the great warrior. "At last our hopes run high, my brilliant Achilles. Father Zeus must love you. We'll sweep great glory back to Achaea's fleet. We'll kill this Hector, mad as he is for battle. No way for him to escape us now, no longer. Not even if Phoebus, the distant deadly archer, goes through torments, pleading for Hector's life, groveling over and over before our storming father Zeus. But you hold your ground and catch your breath, while I run Hector down and persuade the man to fight you face to face." Achilles rejoices at this and stops his pursuit. Athena then goes to Hector and takes on the form and voice of Deiphobus, one of Hector's many brothers, many of whom are dead at the hands of Achilles. Athena speaks to Hector. "Dear brother, how brutally swift Achilles hunts you, coursing you round the city of Priam in all his lethal speed. Come, let us stand our ground together, beat him back." And Hector calls back to Athena, whom he thinks is his brother. "Deiphobus, dearest of all my brothers, all these warring years, of all the sons that Priam and Achaebe produced, now I'm determined to praise you all the more, you who dared, seeing me in these straits, to venture out from the walls, all for my sake, while the others stay inside and cling to safety." And Athena responds, "True, dear brother, how your father and mother both implored me, time and again, clutching my knees, and the comrades round me begging me to stay. Such was the fear that broke them, man for man. But the heart within me broke with grief for you. Now, headlong on and fight, no let up, no lance spared. So now we'll see if Achilles kills us both and hauls our bloody armor back to the beaked ships, or he goes down in pain beneath your spear." So Hector, now thinking he is reinforced by his brother, turns to finally face Achilles. "No more running from you in fear, Achilles, not as before. 3 times I fled around the great city of Priam. I lacked courage then to stand your onslaught. Now my spirit stirs me to meet you face to face. Now kill or be killed. Come, we'll swear to the gods, the highest witnesses. The gods will oversee our binding pacts. I swear I will never mutilate you, merciless as you are. If Zeus allows me to last it out and tear your life away. But once I've stripped your glorious armor, Achilles, I will give your body back to your loyal comrades. Swear you'll do the same." And Achilles spits back, "Hector, stop! You unforgivable, you! Don't talk to me of pacts. There are no binding oaths between men and lions. Wolves and lambs can enjoy no meeting of the minds. They are all bent on hating each other to the death. So with you and me, no love between us, no truce till one or the other falls and gluts with blood. Ares, who hacks at men behind his rawhide shield. Come, call up whatever courage you can muster, life or death. Now prove yourself a spearman, a daring man of war. No more escape for you. Athena will kill you with my spear in just a moment. Now you'll pay at a stroke for all my comrades' grief, all you killed in the fury of your spear." And Achilles whips his spear at Hector, but Hector ducks away from the zinging shaft. Athena grabs the spear and gets it back to Achilles, but Hector does not notice and shouts out to Achilles, "You missed! Look, the great godlike Achilles! So you knew nothing at all from Zeus about my death. And yet how sure you were, all bluff, cunning with words. That's all you are, trying to make me fear you, lose my nerve, forget my fighting strength. Well, you'll never plant your lance in my back as I flee from you in fear, plunge it through my chest as I come charging in, if a god gives you the chance. But now it's for you to dodge my brazen spear. I wish you'd bury it in your body to the hilt. How much lighter the war would be for Trojans then if you, their greatest scourge, were dead and gone." Shaft poised, he hurled, and his spear's long shadow flew, and it struck Achilles' shield. A dead center hit, but off and away it glanced, and Hector seethed, his hurtling spear, his whole arm's power poured in a wasted shot. He stood there, cast down. He had no spear in reserve, so Hector shouted out to Deiphobus, bearing his white shield. With a ringing shout, he called for a heavy lance. But the man was nowhere near him, vanished. Yes, and Hector knew the truth in his heart, and the fighter cried aloud, "My time has come! At last the gods have called me down to death. I thought he was at my side, the hero Deiphobus. He's safe inside the walls. Athena's tricked me blind, and now death, grim death, is looming up beside me, no longer far away, no way to escape it now. This was their pleasure after all, sealed long ago. Zeus and the son of Zeus, the distant deadly archer. though often before now they rushed to my defense. So now I meet my doom. Well, let me die, but not without struggle, not without glory, no, in some great clash of arms that even men to come will hear of down the years. And on that resolve he drew the whetted sword that hung at his side, tempered, massive, and gathering all his force, he swooped like a soaring eagle, launching down from the dark clouds to earth to snatch some helpless lamb or trembling hare. So Hector swooped now, swinging his whetted sword, and Achilles charged too, bursting with rage, barbaric, guarding his chest with the well-wrought blazoned shield, head tossing his gleaming helmet, 4 horns strong, and the golden plumes shook that the god of fire drove in bristling thick along its ridge. Bright as that star amid the stars in the night, star of the evening, brightest star that rides the heavens, so fire flared from the sharp point of the spear Achilles brandished high in his right hand, bent on Hector's death, scanning his splendid body, where to pierce it best. The rest of his flesh seemed all encased in armor, burnished, brazen, Achilles' armor that Hector stripped from strong Patroclus when he killed him. True, but one spot lay exposed, where collarbones lift the neck bone off the shoulders, the open throat, where the end of life comes quickest. There, as Hector charged in fury, brilliant Achilles drove his spear, and the point went stabbing clean through the tender neck. But the heavy bronze weapon failed to slash the windpipe. Hector could still gasp out some words, some last reply. He crashed in the dust. Godlike Achilles gloried over him. Hector, surely you thought when you stripped Patroclus' armor that you would be safe, never a fear of me, far from the fighting as I was, you fool, left behind there, down by the beaked ships. His great avenger waited, a greater man by far. That man was I, and I smashed your strength. And you, the dogs and birds, will maul you, shame your corpse, will Achaeans bury my dear friend in glory. Struggling for breath, Hector, his helmet flashing, said, I beg you by your life, your parents, don't let the dogs devour me by the Argive ships. Wait. Take the princely ransom of bronze and gold, the gifts my father and noble mother will give you. But give my body to friends to carry home again, so Trojan men and Trojan women can do me honor with fitting rites of fire once I am dead. Staring grimly, the proud runner Achilles answered, Beg no more, you fawning dog, begging me by my parents? Would to God my rage, my fury would drive me now to hack your flesh away and eat you raw. Such agonies you have caused me. Ransom? No man alive can keep the dog packs off you. Not if they haul in 10, 20 times that ransom, and pile it here before me, and promise fortunes more. No, not even if Dardan Priam should offer to weigh out your bulk in gold, not even then will your noble mother lay you on your deathbed, mourn the son she bore. The dogs and birds will rend you, blood and bone. At the point of death, Hector, his helmet flashing, said, "I know you well. I see my fate before me. Never a chance I could win you over. Iron inside your chest, that heart of yours. But now beware, or my curse will draw God's wrath upon your head. That day when Paris and Lord Apollo, for all your fighting heart, destroy you at the Scaean gates." So Hector dies, and Achilles taunts over his dead body. "Die! Die! For my own death, I'll meet it freely, whenever Zeus and the other deathless gods would like to bring it on." Achilles rips his spear from Hector and strips the bloody armor from his body, the armor that once belonged to Achilles, which Patroclus wore on his own fateful day. Other Achaeans rush up to the corpse and admire what once was Hector. They each take their turns stabbing the dead hero, who was the only hope that the Trojans had of defending their city and way of life. Achilles then speaks to them all. "Friends, lords of the Argives, O my captains, now that the gods have let me kill this man who caused us agonies, loss on crushing loss, more than the rest of all their men combined, come, let us ring their walls in armor, test them, see what recourse the Trojans still might have in mind. Will they abandon the city heights with this man fallen, or brace for a last dying stand though Hector's gone? But wait, what am I saying? Why this deep debate? Down by the ships a body lays unwept, unburied. Patroclus, I will never forget him. Not as long as I'm still among the living, and my springing knees will lift and drive me on. Though the dead forget their dead in the house of death, I will remember, even there, my dear companion. Now, come, you sons of Achaea, raise a song of triumph. Down to the ships we march and bear this corpse on high. We have won ourselves great glory. We have brought magnificent Hector down, that man the Trojans glorified in their city like a god." So he triumphed, and now he was bent on outrage, on shaming noble Hector. Piercing the tendons ankle to heel behind both feet, he knotted straps of raw hide through them both, lashed them to his chariot, left the head to drag, and mounting the car, hoisting the famous arms aboard, he whipped his team to a run, and breakneck on they flew, holding nothing back. And a thick cloud of dust rose up from the man they dragged, his dark hair swirling round that head so handsome once, all tumbled low in the dust, since Zeus had given him over to his enemies now, to be defiled in the land of his fathers. So his whole head was dragged down in the dust, and now his mother began to tear her hair. She flung her shining veil to the ground and raised a high, shattering scream, looking down at her son. Pitifully, his loving father groaned, and round the king his people cried with grief, and wailing seized the city. For all the world, as if all Troy were torched and smoldering, down from the looming brows of the citadel to her roots, Priam's people could hardly hold the old man back, frantic, mad to go rushing out the Dardan gates. He begged them all, groveling in the filth, calling out to them, calling each man by name. Andromache, the once dear wife of Hector, has not yet heard of his fate. She is weaving and calls for her maids to prepare a bath for him, who will never return, never take her in his arms again. But then she hears the wails and screams, and Andromache drops her work and goes out to the wall to see what has happened. But once she reached the tower where soldiers massed, she stopped on the rampart, looked down, and saw it all. Saw him dragged before the city, stallions galloping, dragging Hector back to Achaea's beaked ships. Ruthless work. The world went black as night before her eyes. She fainted, falling backward, gasping away her life breath. She flung to the winds her glittering headdress, the cap and the coronet, braided band and veil, all the regalia golden Aphrodite gave her once, the day that Hector, helmet aflash in the sunlight, led her home to Troy from her father's house with countless wedding gifts to win her heart. But crowding round her now, her husband's sisters and brothers' wives supported her in their midst, and she, terrified, stunned to the point of death, struggling for breath now and coming back to life, burst out in grief among the Trojan women. "Oh, Hector, I am destroyed! Both born to the same fate after all. You at Troy in the walls of King Priam. I at Thebes under the timberline of Placos, at Dion's house. He raised me as a child, that man of doom. His daughter just as doomed. Would to God he'd never fathered me. Now you go down to the house of death, the dark depths of the earth, and leave me here to waste away in grief, a widow lost in the royal halls, and the boy only a baby, the son we bore together, you and I so doomed. Hector, what help are you to him, now you are dead? What help is he to you? Think, even if he escapes the wrenching horrors of war against the Argives, pain and labor will plague him all his days to come. Strangers will mark his lands off, stealing his estates. The day that orphans a youngster cuts him off from friends, and he hangs his head low, humiliated in every way. His cheeks stained with tears and pressed by hunger, the boy goes up to his father's old companions, tugging at one man's cloak, another's tunic, and some will pity him, true, and one will give him a little cup to drink, enough to wet his lips, not quench his thirst. But then some bully with both his parents living beats him from the banquet, fists and abuses flying. You, get out of here! You've got no father feasting with us here! And the boy, sobbing, trails home to his widowed mother, Astyanax! And years ago, propped on his father's knee, he would only eat the marrow, the richest cuts of lamb. And when sleep came on him, and he had to quit his play, cradled warm in his nurse's arms, he'd drowse off, snug in a soft bed, his heart brimmed with joy. Now what suffering! Now he's lost his father. Astyanax, the lord of the city, so the Trojans called him, because it was you, Hector, you and you alone, who shielded the gates and the long walls of Troy. But now, by the beaked ships, far from your parents, glistening worms will wriggle through your flesh, once the dogs have had their fill of your naked corpse. Though we have such stores of clothing laid up in the halls, fine things, a joy to see, the work of women's hands. Now, by God, I'll burn them all, blazing to the skies. No use to you now, they'll never shroud your body. But they will be your glory, burned by the Trojan men and women in your honor. Her voice rang out in tears, and the women wailed in answer.